Hey guys, Chandler here, back on my channel, Alternate Journey, and today I'm here with you guys talking about tips on choosing your name, and the story of how I chose my name. Let me just start off with explaining why it's important for trans and non-binary individuals to choose their own name. Unfortunately, we are born into these bodies that is out of our control, and within our society, we are given birth names that are associated with our born identities. For example, Samantha is a very female-identified name, while Sam is a more male-identified name. And within this society, when we say our name, people just automatically associate it with whatever gender, whether it sounds more feminine or more masculine. So for trans and non-binary individuals, the name that we get to choose for ourselves gives us a sense of control, because we are born into these bodies without any control. So it gives us control within our transition, especially if one cannot medically transition or they do not have the resources or support in order to transition. It really connects us with our true identity, and we are able to express ourselves in our truest form. When it comes to choosing your name, you can try to stay as close as possible to your birth name, or you can be as unique and as original as you want. So if you were born Samantha, you can go as Sam. It might be easier too, because usually people just give you a nickname of Sam or Sammy. It just depends on you whether or not you actually really feel connected with that. Just because maybe people just called you Sam your whole life, and it didn't really matter to you that they were just doing it as a nickname for your female identified name, because you always just felt connected with just Sam and you never really fully called yourself Samantha. Maybe you just signed your name as Sam all the time and you didn't respond to Samantha, you just always responded to Sam. You know what I mean? Yeah, but anyways, you can try to stay as close as possible to your birth name and everything, whether it's just the spelling, something like that. It's truly up to you. It's your name. There's no real guidelines of what you have to do. You can name yourself after a favorite character of yours from a movie, book, play, or TV show. It's okay to name yourself after someone who inspires you. Parents do this all the time. Parents have named their children after actors, after characters from their own favorite shows, or even childhood books that they liked as a kid. Parents do this all the time, and you can do that too. It's not weird to name yourself that, because they inspired you. Maybe they got you through your dysphoria and everything and made you realize that you were trans, or any sense of that at all. You can have your own connection with that name, and inspiration can go a long way with that. You can do the modern method of just looking in a baby book, just scrolling through like parents do when they're about to have a kid, and make a list of certain names that you like. If you want to stay a little similar to your birth name, just start off with going through of say your birth name started with an S, go through the S names. So say you were Samantha, but you didn't like the name Sam because it reminded you of the nickname for your feminine born name. So you go through and you're like, oh, I like Seth or Spencer, you know what I mean? So you can go through the S-boy names and go through and find one that you like. Write them down, but also I suggest is once you have a list, and to eliminate some on the list, look up meanings of the name. And then you can go through and eliminate and just pick your top 3, look in the mirror, call yourself those names, and see which one resonates with you the most. Also just test them out. Have close friends or even some family members that you are out to, and just have them test out those names and everything, and you can figure out which one you actually associate more with. Or you can just simply ask your parents what your name would have been if you were born in the right body. I remember I was 11 or 12 when I asked my mom this, and she told me that my name would have been Christopher if I was actually born in the right body, which is kind of strange because considering my birth name, it's so far off of my birth name, and it's Christopher is a nice name. I don't really associate it with that much or anything like that. It's a nice name. I did consider it when I was choosing my name. Although, I was thinking about this. If I was actually born in the right body, I feel like I would have been Christopher, because I wouldn't have had gender dysphoria and everything, so I wouldn't feel a disconnect with that name, if that makes sense. Sometimes when it comes to finding a true name, it's just a feeling, and there's an unknown connection with the name. And that's simply alright. Some parents just name their child a name because they liked it, And you can do the same thing for yourself. Just because you like a name, you connected with it, and you're like, you know what? I am a Spencer. I am a Mark. I am a Jonathan. Whatever the name is. The thing that I suggest the most is try the name for at least 6 months to a year before you go through the legal process of actually changing your name. Because you could change your mind and everything like that after testing it for a while, but also just because changing your name in the legal form is just such a long process and it costs a lot of money. It's something that you want to do once in your life. Maybe twice if you're going to change your last name through marriage. Okay, first off, before I start explaining my story, I don't like saying I chose my name. I like to say that I found my name. So, because that's the thing. I strongly believe that we do not choose to be trans. Like, why would you choose that at all? It sucks. And like, yeah, I did not choose this at all. But the thing is like, I like to say that I didn't choose my name, I found it, because it's like, I am such a Chandler, but also like, it just makes me a little bit dysphoric when people ask me how I chose my name, because it just reminds me I had to go through that whole process of like, the whole dysphoria of like, finding out like, my birth name was just not right for me, and it was so feminine, and it was just like, I liked my name as a kid. That's the thing. Like, I really liked it because it was so unique. But then throughout life and throughout time and everything like that, I started to have this hatred towards it because it reminded me of how I was born. And it's just something that I didn't want to connect with all the time and everything. So the fact that people keep on saying that we choose our names now and everything like that, it's like, yes, some people, yes, I agree. Like, some people, you can word it that way. But for me personally, I just don't like saying that. I like to say I found my name because like, I truly am a Chandler. Even looking back at old photos, I'm like, that's a Chandler. Like, how come I didn't realize like who I truly was? I don't know how any way to explain it, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way as well. But yeah, it's just something, it's just weird wording that makes me less dysphoric when I say I found my name. So yeah, anyways, to the story. Tell the story, Chandler. I did the most basic method that you could with choosing your name. I went to the baby book and started creating a list. At first, I wanted to be close to my birth name because I thought it'd be easier for some people. So I was looking through names that start with a T, because that's what my birth name started with. But it's like, I couldn't find anything that was good. There was Trevor, Thomas, Timothy, and stuff like that. But like, my little brother's name is Trevor. Plus, I'm not a Trevor at all. He's definitely a Trevor. But it's just like, I was going through and I finally found Travis. I liked the name Travis, and at this point I was like, that could be my name, yeah. But I definitely saved it for my middle name because it just made more sense. I couldn't think of anything as a middle name that would go with Travis. I like things to flow. Like, all my siblings' first and middle name flows so freaking good. Like, my mom did perfect with finding middle names. So like, I wanted mine to flow really good, and it's like Travis John, no. Then I'd be another TJ, and it's like, no. Like, I couldn't think of anything. Like, Travis Michael, Waters, I guess, but no. I didn't associate with any of those, but I did like the name Travis, and I knew I wanted to save it. So I saved it for my middle name. And then at this point, because like, I knew like, I wasn't gonna have the whole TC initials and everything like that, I just went through the baby list just like saying, fuck it, I'm just looking for a name. Doesn't matter what letter I started with. So I started creating a list, and throughout time I was like eliminating it just because it's like, I looked in the mirror, called myself the name, I was like, no. Or I looked up meanings of the name and I didn't feel a connection with it. So I would cross it off the list, and the list got shorter and shorter. And then finally, after a week or so of just going through names, I came to the final two, which were Chandler and Grayson. So there's two main reasonings why I ended up with Chandler from those two names. First reasoning is Grayson is too close to my biological father's name. He wasn't really there for me in any sense. He wasn't really a good father. He wasn't really much involved in my life. So I didn't want a name that was so close to his. So I decided like, maybe I could just be a Gray or something like that. Gray Travis Waters didn't really like sound too good to me. It just wasn't flowing right. And it's like, I did really like the name Grayson, but it's like, I didn't want to always it was just so similar to my father's name, and I didn't want to think of that, and I didn't want my family members to think of that either. And then the second reasoning, which is like the main reasoning, because it's like I thought like, okay, like, well, if Grayson's really your name though, you would get over that factor. You know what I mean? But the second factor of it is, so a lot of people actually think that I named myself Chandler because of Friends, which is not true. I mean, I do really like Friends a lot, and Chandler is my favorite character from Friends, but the main story of how I came to the conclusion that Chandler is my true name is because I always have something on in the background when I'm studying and everything, because I grew up in a large family. There's 7 kids total, so there's always a lot of noise. And when I moved out and I was studying for my business degree, I just couldn't study or do homework in a quiet environment because like I'm so used to a lot of noise. So I would just have something on in the background. It was always either Friends, The Office, or Golden Girls. Of course. Like I was just doing homework and I had Friends on in the background, and I noticed I looked up at the TV every time when someone said Chandler. But then I went and watched the scene. So it's like I thought I was just always looking up because Chandler was my favorite character. He's really funny and everything. I love all the moments of him in Friends. So I thought like I was just looking up because I was like, oh, let me watch this. But I realized that I wasn't even paying attention at all to the scene or what was going on. I just looked up and went back to my homework. And it was just like, as if like, oh, they weren't talking to you. They were talking to the character Chandler on TV. That was like the main moment that I realized like Chandler was my true name. Started practicing my signature, and it was just like, it was such a surreal moment, like actually finding my name and coming to terms with it, and just like, yeah, it was really awesome. Like, it was just so surreal. But whatever you do, just find a name that you like and you have a connection with, and just that makes sense to you. After all, it's your name. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. And there is no need to actually have a story behind your name. Some parents don't really have a meaning behind their child's name. They just name their child that because they liked it. And that can be your same reasoning as well. It's your name, your life, you do whatever you want with it. That's the bottom line. I hope you guys like this video. If you have any other tips, or if you want to share your story of how you found your true name, please write that down below. So yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to also click that bell down below so you can get notifications whenever I upload a video. I make videos whenever I can, but you can always expect important updates on my transition. Alright, see you guys.